Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 27th episode of our weekly cyber threat intelligence briefing. Today is November 27th, which is Cyber Monday. Get your shopping in, only 660 hours until Christmas. Now, not only is it Cyber Monday, but is also Mindful Meditation Monday. So our thought for the day is, I wonder what my dog named me. Just a funny thought to think of. So my name is Keith Wojcicki, Global Head of Threat Intelligence. This week we're joined by Associate Managing Director Lori Iacono, Senior Vice President George Glass, Vice President Dave Truman, Vice President Mukesh Nagar, and Senior Associate Ryan Hicks, all from our Cyber Threat Intelligence team. So let's talk about news you can use for November 27th, 2023. So Atomic Sealer has been observed being deployed to Mac users through fake browser updates. That's technique previously not observed against the Mac users. The functionality of Atomic Sealer includes the collection of files, system information, browser data, crypto wallets, and passwords from Keychain, which is Apple's password management tool. The second news you can use is following the Kroll Bulletin on November 20th covering LockBit, which was last week. The FBI and CISA have released a joint advisory and then identified the latest TTPs and detection methods for LockBit. So go ahead and take a look at CISA's webpage for that. So today, we're going to be covering the following trends our team is concentrating on. We're going to have a brief talk about XWORM, get into DARKGATE a little bit, LUMMA, looking at Google Authenticator cookies, WinRAR, and then round everything up with the Ransomware Roundup. With that, I'm going to turn to George. We have seen a little bit with XWORM has been recent, and just looking to George to tell us more what you're seeing about in the trenches.
Thank you, Keith. Apologies for the slight mess up there on my contents page. X and Z are right next to each other on the keyboard in my defense. So yeah, XWORM, not particularly new piece of malware. It's sold as a malware as a service. Originally hit the market June 2022, and yeah, it was a malware as a service offering that was seen here and there, but recently it's been increasing in popularity. One of the things about XWORM is that the highly configurable nature of the plugins that you can add to it, the configuration changes you can make to it, depending on what the threat actor needs or wants to do. It has a stealer capability, remote access via a shell or hidden VNC protocols. It's very configurable in that way. I think that's what's leading to some of the heightened popularity. We've seen it in a limited number of cases, but what we are seeing is a pretty significant increase in the amount of submissions to open source sandboxing tools like AnyRun. That is something that has been a particular note to us. We do like to compare our numbers with what's going on in the rest of the world, not just totally rely on the stuff that we see day in and day out. And XWORM has been pretty much consistently in the top 10 of these sandboxes for a couple of months now, and so we're taking a closer look at it. Now, there are some quite fantastic detection opportunities here. Of course, we have lots of detections for the general tradecraft that lots of malware must use in order to operate defense in depth sort of capability. But for some of the very sort of lazy operators of XWORM, we've noticed that a lot of them I think just leave the config as it is. They don't set it up correctly, and very handily that gives us some great detection opportunities. This is just one I've pulled out here. Very helpfully, it creates a scheduled task under the name XWORM. So that's a great detection opportunity for us. You can sort of see that one from space. But there are some proactive things that organizations can do as well. Quite a lot of the capability of XWORM has it sending back information to Telegram. So you can see there an excerpt from the AnyRun report on XWORM, and that is a section of data that is sent to the Telegram API and that will notify the operator that there's been a successful installation. Obviously, you can see some basic information about the machine, the OS, and so on, what user it's running at, and so on and so forth. So blocking Telegram, if you don't use it in your organization, absolutely it'll break not only XWORM, but a number of other sort of malware as a service offerings as well. Additionally, also, we see ngrok usage very heavily associated with XWORM. We've talked about ngrok quite a few times before, but if you're not using that as part of your development tooling, or you can block it generally, but then just allow ngrok usage for a couple of users. I personally wouldn't recommend it, but if you're using ngrok in your environment, try and limit it to as few people as possible. And again, blocking that at the network edge will cause some pretty significant problems for XWORM's C2 and remote access capabilities from working properly. But that's it from my one. Keith, back over to you, mate.
Thanks, George. Ryan, I know that DARKGATE offers multiple methods of delivering malware through to the victim machine. Let's see what you got today to talk about this awful group of individuals for this phishing campaign.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. Hi, everyone. So, yeah, there've really been kind of further signs to the potential successes of QuackBot. Of course, following the FBI's disruption of QuackBot infrastructure back in September, and recent DARKGATE and PIKABOT phishing campaigns have just displayed quite a lot of strong similarities in that kind of attack chain to the previously observed QuackBot initial access. But instead, the threat actors are deploying either DARKGATE or PIKABOT, so they're definitely kind of combined, interchangeably used in these same campaigns. Both these malware families, were first cited in early 2023, at a very similar time to the gradual reduction in observed QuackBot activity that we were tracking. And one technique identified within this current campaign of phishing used by the threat actors was email thread hijacking. So it's kind of one of the signs for this particular campaign. And this email thread hijacking was possibly linked to older exchange vulnerabilities, one of which was CVE 2021 26855. And by hijacking the legitimate email threads, the threat actor could essentially plant a link to the malicious payload, so making it appear a lot more legitimate, kind of blending in with normal communication within the organization, and kind of continuing the conversation between people. You may have seen our posts a few months ago where we posted about our DARKGATE observations being deployed through Microsoft Teams. That kind of evolved into using Skype and then through to email phishing. And this is really the first time we've seen DARKGATE and PIKABOT used kind of interchangeably in this same campaign, previously kind of been fairly separated between themselves. It would appear from open source reporting that during the most recent run of the campaign, which is kind of back in October, PIKABOT had taken over DARKGATE as the preferred final payload. So PIKABOT was seen a lot more than DARKGATE, although both were still observed. But yeah, PIKABOT had the edge in numbers there. And just to go over PIKABOT slightly, PIKABOT itself appeared in early 2023, really developed as a loader for initial access and deployment of follow-on malware, such as Cobalt Strike. So again, really showing very much similarities to QuackBot. And when both PIKABOT and QuackBot were in operation earlier this year, we did observe quite significant overlap, actually, with the command and control infrastructure between the two. So yeah, all this kind of adding up to that idea I said at the start about both PIKABOT and DARKGATE kind of successes to QuackBot. And as I put at the bottom there, something that we've been tracking, both DARKGATE and PIKABOT indicates a compromise since their initial reporting. So really just an interesting one to track, and we'll keep doing so, and tracking it and highlighting any detections for these two pieces of malware. That's all for me. I'll hand back to Keith.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So Mukesh, we're seeing some interesting malware being delivered through Discord. Can you tell us a little bit about LUMMA?
Yeah, sure. So LUMMA is an information stealer. It's also referred to as LUMMA C2. And as of recently, the developers have been working on some new features. One that I'd like to draw attention to on this occasion is the use of being able to revive expired Google session cookies. Now, session cookies are digital markers that simplify the website login process during a browsing session, which means when you log in, you are given a session cookie, and that session cookie is active as long as you're on the browser. As soon as you close the browser down or log out, that session cookie would be destroyed and unable to be used again. However, due to a flaw within Google corporate's plans of handling the Google session cookies, LUMMA have been able to revive them and be able to reuse them through what they call as restore files, giving them access to sessions of corporate plan users' Google accounts. Now, this functionality is currently being offered to subscribers of LUMMA's top tier corporate plan, and that comes with a nice little price tag of about $1,000 a month for the actor who would like to use it. LUMMA developers have been also further working on enhancing this, as Google did attempt to try and fix this flaw. However, the developers have found another way around it and have implemented this. Has implemented the update to avoid the fix. Users should take precautions such as avoiding downloads from untrustworthy sources and refrain from clicking on promoted results on Google searches, especially during this time of the year where we see a lot of adverts and a lot of offers. Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We've also got Christmas coming up just around the corner as well. So yeah, just be more vigilant and make sure you know what you're going, the links that you're going to when you're clicking. Back over to you, Keith.
Thank you very much, Makash. Appreciate it. Dave, can you brief us on the analysis you're conducting with WinRAR?
Yeah, thank you, Keith. There have been multiple reports of different threat actors taking advantage of CVE 2023-38831, a code execution vulnerability for the file archiving software WinRAR. We reported on this vulnerability and its patch in August. There are now multiple proof of concepts available online, as well as generators to create your own malicious archive with custom lures. Groups using this vulnerability range from technically skilled criminal groups to nation-state actors. A notable recent example is of a targeted phishing campaign attributed to APT29 that made use of a malicious archive and lure document containing photos of a diplomatic car for sale. These emails mostly targeted European Foreign Affairs departments. Other notable groups observed to be using this vulnerability include APT40, Sandworm, Frozen Lake, Connie, Dark Casino, and Ghostwriter. One reason for the widespread adoption of this vulnerability might be because WinRAR does not auto-update, and since it is not part of the operating system itself, it does not get updated as part of Windows, meaning that an organization would have to be more proactive in updating software of this nature. It is recommended to update any WinRAR instances as soon as possible, along with checking environmental process logs for any out-of-date instances of WinRAR that might have been unknowingly installed by users. Thank you. Keith?
Thank you very much, Dave. Now let's trot over to Lori to discuss the ransomware roundup. Lori?
Good morning. Yeah, so kind of what we're seeing in ransomware, kind of an interesting story from last week was perhaps some affiliates of Phobos ransomware implicating BX Underground as part of their attack. So trying to kind of frame that group. For those of you who aren't familiar with VX Underground, they are a very popular malware and cybersecurity news sharing collective. For anyone that is a Twitter or X user, they have quite a animated, I guess I would call, account that is very interesting to follow and post a lot of news. So what we have here is a Phobos ransom variant. that is basically using some like a legitimate email tying back to VX Underground. So they're using that in their file names. They're also using a file extension VXUG, no doubt referring back to that group. And in one of their ransom notes, they're actually, basically telling victims to contact VX Underground or even their Twitter to be decrypted. The ransom note they're using is the standard Phobos ransom note. As I said, in this case, the screenshot here shows them kind of hearkening back using that VX Underground logo that they're using. As I said, VX Underground is a notoriously animated group, and their response back on their Twitter was that they are definitely not threat actors, and it's actually insulting for users to think that if they were, they would stoop so low as to use Phobos. So this is no doubt kind of a reference to the fact that Phobos, even though it's been around since about 2018, it never really reached the elite level of other more well-known ransomware groups such as GanCrab, Revol, Black Cat, and other groups like that. So just kind of some interesting news on the ransomware front. And that's all I have for the Ransomware Roundup this week.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you, George, Ryan, Mikesh, and Dave, for all your analysis and briefings. A big thank you to everybody that's taken the time to tune into Kroll's weekly threat intelligence briefing. We hope you found this session informative. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to contact the team at cti@kroll.com. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.